This is the only introduction you'll ever need to using track changes and comments in Microsoft Word, which will help you to review documents so much more efficiently in the future. Even though you might think using track changes and comments is super simple and straightforward, I will show you that the devil is in the detail and how you're going to use those functions in a proper way in the future. Track changes in Microsoft Word can be enabled via the Review tab, where you'll find the tracking section as well as the changes section, which go together. We will also look at using comments because they are most of the time used in combination with track changes. For example, when reviewing or proofreading a document like this randomly chosen article from Harvard Business Review. So to turn track changes on, you just need to click on the icon above the text saying track changes. You will see that the button becomes dark gray, showing that this feature is now active. Clicking below the icon, you can indicate for whom you would like to turn track changes on, just for yourself or for everyone. I would always recommend turning it on for everyone, because otherwise the purpose of track changes is somehow lost in my opinion. You even have the possibility to lock tracking with a password in order to prevent other authors from turning on or off track changes. You'll realize track changes is on if the entire button is grayed out and lock tracking has a dark background. This might become handy in particular when you're working on sensitive documents such as contracts, where you want to make sure that everyone working on the document tracks changes and does not change anything without being noticed. Having track changes turned on, you can simply review the Word document and correct the wording. Whenever you change something in the text, this will be tracked in a certain color. There will be one color per person, so if several people are reviewing the same document, for example, the first review's changes are tracked in blue, the second's in red, the third one's in green, and so on. If you're not sure anymore which color belongs to which person, you can just hover above the change and see who changed the text and when. If you change the format of the text, this change will be shown in a so-called balloon on the right side of the document. No worries, later I will show you how to properly and much more efficiently than most of your colleagues deal with those changes by either accepting or rejecting them. So besides the actual edits within the text, for each edit there is a line edit at the left side of the document. This helps to keep track of even small changes which might not necessarily be visible at a first glance. For example, when you add a single letter and your review color is blue, this change might not be visible in the first place. However, seeing that line on the left side will help you to navigate to changes that have not yet been accepted or rejected. Now, as you can see, having track changes turned on shows those changes in a certain default view, which is all markup. The formatting changes in the blue on the vertical pane on the right. But all those settings can be changed as well. You can choose if you want to see all markup, which is the default setting, simple markup, which just shows the corrected version and the lines on the right, no markup, which shows the documents how it would look like in a final corrected version, or you can show the original version without any corrections. Usually I want to see all markup, but sometimes it helps to switch to no markup to see how the document looks like in a final version, assuming all changes were accepted. But not only can you change the look of the entire document, but also of the markup and review pane. First, you can select which markups you want to show. The default here is that all insertions and deletions and all formatting changes are tracked by everyone. But just the formatting changes are shown in the balloons on the review pane on the right side. You can also choose not to show formatting changes, which will get rid of the balloons on the right, and if you don't want to show insertions or deletions, these markups will not appear anymore in the text, as if you would be choosing no markup. When it comes to the balloons, you can just stay with the default option and show only formatting in balloons, which is, by the way, my preferred option. But if you don't like that, you can also show all revisions, be it wording or formatting changes, in balloons. A third option is to get rid of the balloons at all and show all revisions in line only. This option, however, is not so handy in my opinion, since you do not see any formatting changes right away, as they're only marked with the review lines on the left. Finally, you can choose to show a reviewing pane either horizontally or vertically. This pane simply shows all of the changes ever done to the document in a sequential order and basically act as a change log. You can even move it just by hovering above it, and once the four-sided arrow appears, you can click, move and release the pane wherever you want to. In my opinion, however, you do not really need the review pane, which is why I do not recommend having it activated. Now that you know how to use track changes, we can take a look at the changes section here in the review tab that helps you to properly manage those changes. In general, there are three important functions that you should be aware of, and they are accessible in different ways, which I will show you and teach you the most efficient one. First, you can accept changes simply by clicking on the icon whenever your cursor is located at a change within the text. Be aware that you have to click twice, once for accepting the deletion of the old wording and the insertion of the new one. You can shorten that by simply highlighting both or even entire paragraphs and clicking on accept. If you click on accept below the icon, there are several options of how to accept a track change. The first one, accept and move to next one, is the most common way of using the function, which automatically helps you to move forward in your review process. Whilst accept this change, just accept the change you're currently working on, but nothing else. Then there's an option to just accepting all changes with one click, or do the same and end tracking changes. The second major function is the changes section to reject changes, which you can do by clicking on the icon with the red cross on paper. Underneath, there are the exact same options of how you can reject changes as there were for accepting them. And the third major option here is navigate through the document by going to the previous or the next change with those two buttons here. Now, using the buttons in the ribbon is one option to accept or reject changes, but it is certainly not the most efficient one, because wherever you are in the document, you need to move the mouse back to the ribbon to initiate an action. So one of two more efficient alternatives is to use the balloons to review at least the formatting changes. For each change, you can do a right click on the balloon and choose to either accept or reject the change. An alternative to faster editing wording changes is to move within the text and doing a right click on whatever change you want to edit. In the vertical action box, you can again choose between accepting or rejecting the change, or in the horizontal action box, you have all of the different options from the ribbon available, as well as accepting and moving to the next change with one click. By having those options available in one spot without having the need to move up to the ribbon for each and every change, you might save a lot of time moving up and down if you're reviewing a several hundred-page document. When reviewing a document, I have rarely seen that someone only uses track changes without any comments. And that's why we should also look at properly working with comments to equip you with the most complete and efficient way of working. To create comments, you just have to click on New Comment, and a new comment is created wherever your cursor is currently positioned in the document. Be aware that it usually marks the entire word in which your cursor is currently positioned, but you can also highlight several words or even paragraphs to comment on those sections. In the comment box, you can enter the comment you want to make and publish it by clicking on the little send button or pressing Ctrl+Enter. If you're working on a document in OneDrive or Google Drive, you can also tag other people with an @ plus their name. And if your organization works with OneDrive, at least that's what I know, the tagged person will get an email that they have been tagged in that document and can access it directly via a link in that email. The default option of displaying comments is in a contextual way, meaning that they are listed on the right-hand side of the document at the level of the word or paragraph that you have commented. If there are many comments at around the same place, they will move up and down, and you can scroll to get to the comment you would like to review. But you can also change the view into a list view where all comments are just listed in a separate comments bar. Replying to comments works the same way as just described, leaving the message in the comment field and either pressing Ctrl plus Enter or the blue button. You can also edit a comment by clicking on the little pen in the upper right corner, or if you want to delete or resolve it, right next to the pen on the 3 little dots. Whilst all open comments will be displayed by those little icons across the document, having resolved a comment will make it disappear on the right-hand side and display a tick mark on the icon in the document itself. To navigate across the comments, you can either use the buttons in the ribbon and move to the previous or to the next comment, or you can simply go through the document and take care of them one by one. So if you want to know how to become at least as efficient in Outlook as you're now in Word, check out this video.